Mackenzie Johnston with Cattle News Central, bringing you your February 15th cattle industry headlines. Brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors. They provide risk management programs to livestock producers all across the West. Whether you are concerned about price or weather risk, Ag Risk Advisors, they are here to help. With current day market fluctuations, there is nothing more important than locking in a price floor on your cattle. So if you'd like to learn more about an LRP, go ahead and reach out to an advisor today. Also sponsored by American Beef Producer Magazine. They offer in-depth articles on a wide variety of topics within our industry. They feature award-winning photography and so much more within their publication. If you would like to check out their most recent edition, their February edition, all you have to do is click on the American Beef Producer Magazine link above in the caption. That will take you over to their Facebook page where you can check that out. American Beef Producer Magazine, guiding beef producers for over 25 years. And finally, Circle 5 Cow School. If you're wanting to learn how to preg check your own cows or start AIing, Circle 5 Cow School is the way to go. Almost every week they are hosting classes from Texas to Tennessee. So if you would like to check out their schedule, all you have to do is head on over to circle5cowschool.com. That is the number 5 in there, or go ahead and just give them a follow on Facebook. Drovers has reported that according to Arthur All, first vice president of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, cattle marketing has always been an important issue to his organization and also a difficult one. Because of this, TSCRA supports and continues to fight for a transparent and a level playing field for cow-calf producers when they go to market their cattle. The cattle organization has fought for cow-calf producers by continuing to advocate for an individual's freedom and right to choose how they buy and sell their cattle. So essentially, TSCRA is against any kind of legislation that has been brought to the table that would mandate the packers to buy a certain percentage of negotiated cash cattle trade. Essentially, they're against the Deb Fisher bill, 5014, all that jazz. The disparity that we see between live cattle prices and beef prices requires long-term solutions that won't cause unintended consequences and harm cow-calf producers in the long run, said All. TSCRA believes that the fix to our cattle market is enforcement of existing antitrust laws, increased packer competition and capacity, and more transparency in the prices that packers are offering and receiving. All went on to reiterate that the cattle organization still stands true to their fundamental belief of free enterprise and the rights of all those in our industry to buy and sell cattle however and whenever they want, both legally and ethically. TSCRA supports the DOJ investigating the packers and numerous pieces of legislation and executive and regulatory actions to increase the transparency of packers and increase packing capacity, especially at the local and regional levels. But most importantly, the cattle organization supports a requirement that each packer reports the number of cattle they purchase through negotiated trade each week by plant and region. All said that some in our industry are requesting government mandates to solve cattle market issues. And his cattle organization studied this option and once thought that it could have some merit if developed and implemented appropriately. But there are more questions than answers when it comes to mandates. Mandates may apply pressure to the packers, but they might also bring their share of problems with no guaranteed return, he said. He went on to say that getting the government overly involved in our markets may actually make the situation worse. There is a chance if these mandates were to be implemented that they might set a precedent for a future mandate on how cow-calf producers market their cattle or something else that we don't like. All closed by saying that we need to be careful with what we ask for. Complicated problems get solved by those who have persistence and perseverance. Reuters has reported that on Monday, a commercial chicken flock in Kentucky with 240,000 birds tested positive for a highly lethal form of avian flu, H5N1. As infections in chickens being raised for meat intensifies, more restrictions will likely be placed on U.S. poultry exports. A similar outbreak to this one in Kentucky occurred at a commercial turkey farm in Indiana last week, and both China and Korea have now limited their exports from that state. This is Kentucky's first ever outbreak of H5N1. Back in 2015, the highly lethal bird flu killed more than 50 million U.S. chickens and turkeys. Birds are now being culled from infected flocks to prevent the disease from spreading and not entering the food supply system. Currently, this situation poses no immediate public health concern. Dozens of wild birds along the East Coast tested positive and are now being blamed for the spread of this virus. The U.S. is the world's largest producer and second largest exporter of poultry meat. Almost 18% of U.S. poultry production is exported. The spread of avian flu is having a dramatic impact on the market since poultry supplies are down due to increased demand and labor shortages. U.S. frozen chicken supplies were down 14% from a year ago at the end of December, and turkey inventories were down 23%. And finally, Yahoo News has reported that the Consumer Price Index for January, which measures the cost of dozens of everyday consumer goods, increased 7.5% compared to a year ago, according to the Labor Department. This is the highest consumer price index that we have seen since February of 1982. Beef prices have increased 23% depending on the cut over the last 365 days. According to Jason Lusk, head of the Department of Ag Economics at Purdue University in Indiana, there are multiple factors that are contributing to increased food prices, but essentially all it boils down to is basic supply and demand. Domestic and international demand has been through the roof, and when you couple that with increased wages for meatpacking workers, you're going to see a price increase for beef at the meat counter, he said. But as Americans' savings dwindle, eating a steak is becoming out of reach for many low-income families. Many consumers are turning to other protein options, lower-priced protein options, such as chicken. So a few other numbers that are just staggering when it comes to inflation. Year over year, we've seen fuel increase 46.5% and energy costs are up 27%. Vehicles now cost a significant amount more. New vehicles have rose in price 12.5%, and used vehicles are up 40.5% compared to last year. Absolutely crazy. Inflation is just out of control. That is all I have for you guys this morning. I hope everyone is having a great week. Have yourself a wonderful Tuesday. I'll catch you later.